Hello everyone, my name is Joe and I review all of your favorite TV shows on this channel. Today I will be a little bit low energy because your girl had a triggering episode last night and I didn't sleep. It felt, I truly felt like I drank 10 shots of espresso at 10 p.m. and like it was 5 a.m. and I was fully awake and like I could have gone to war. That's how alert I was. Anyway, these happen sometimes. I know how to deal with them, but I'm going to be a little extra insane today. Let's go to White Lotus. My brain might be in pain, but it's still very smart and I bring you decent insights. So as usual, I will start with analyzing the first shot, then the weird family, the three friends, the age gap couple, Belinda, the lovebirds. I will touch on some shots as usual. I will touch on colors in this episode because there were interesting details about the color blue and red. And I will touch a little bit on the monkey snake symbolism because we have more stuff this episode, guys. The timestamps are below in the description, so feel free to jump around to whatever you're interested in. I'm so sorry I haven't fixed my watercolor yet. Eventually, one day, I will fix it, put it straight the way it was. Anyway, as I've been saying for a while now, the initial shot of each episode establishes the tone of the episode, and this time we get the boxing match. Which kind of comes back often during the episode, and what this is setting for the episode is the tone of confrontation that happens literally with every cluster of people. We get Rick and the old dude in the confrontation. We have Tim and Saxon. Tim and Saxon. We have Belinda and Greg. We have the three friends finally blowing out at each other. So this is the tone of the episode, confrontation. And another interesting detail that I noticed in that boxing match is that the boxers, the fighters, the two guys in the ring, they are wearing different colors. One of them is dressed in blue with blue gloves and the other one is dressed in red with red gloves. So I paid attention during the episode where these colors might appear and manifest and be worn by the characters. So I will be pointing that out throughout the episode because I think it might have some significance, and even if it doesn't, it's fun. Starting with the weird family, starting with Locke and Piper. We see them chilling at the monastery throughout the entire episode. We see Locke being a bit weird about the food and a few other things, and we see Piper more than once kind of weirded out by her brother because in the middle of the night, Piper goes see Locke. She's worried about him. She just wants to check up on him and see how he's feeling, what his opinion is of the monastery that she's trying to move into. And Locke kind of comes out with a banger because we know what happened. We know that my boy will be trying to run away from his brother for the rest of his life. And he proposes to Piper to stay at the monastery with her because he doesn't want to return home. In fact, he doesn't want to return home ever because Piper is still thinking about returning, like coming back later to Thailand to spend her year there. And Locke doesn't even think about returning to the US. He doesn't even think about returning with his family back home because it's just going to be so much awkwardness between Locke and Saxon that he's completely thinking of fleeing to Thailand. And it's so funny because the entire family uses escapism to run away from their problems. And it's also funny because Thailand has been portrayed during this entire season of television as like the paradise destination for people who are running away from, the authorities. So the fact that Locke now wants to run away to Thailand, or in this case, stay in Thailand and use like his sister's escape as his own is just funny. It's kind of a full circle moment where we started the season not really knowing what kind of person Locke was. And now we're ending the season realizing, oh, it's just like all the others. Cool. But also, who else felt that weird little lingering feeling when Piper tells Locke, yeah, thank you so much for coming, for supporting me, I love you. And Locke was like, did anyone else feel that? Was it just me? That boy better calm down. Jesus. And by the way, about the colors, I didn't mention this before, but blue wins in the end and red loses. And Locke and Piper start the episode differently. Locke starts wearing blue and then takes it off. And Piper starts wearing a neutral color and then puts on blue. If baby boy Locke gets dressed up in a red shirt tomorrow, next episode, which is tomorrow for him, I will be losing my mind. Because you know what I think Locke will do? Die. The parents and Saxon go up the mountain to Greg and Chloe's party. The only one wearing one of the colors is Saxon. He's wearing a blue shirt. Tim is high as a kite and unstable the whole night. He's out of it completely. The way that when he was talking to Greg, I couldn't even understand half the words he was saying the first time I watched the episode. He's a goner for sure. And well, Parker Posey's being her most hilarious self as usual when she was talking to the girl and she was like, I can save you. I can save you from a stable financial life, girl. I know how to do it. I trained my husband. Anyway, during this episode, Saxon is always constantly in shock. First, he's in shock that Chelsea still doesn't like him. Saxon is more than shocked that Chloe wants to partner up with him so that Greg can watch. That was an interesting plot twist. I enjoy that. Thank you, White Lotus. Thank you for that. And then he's annoyed because Chloe doesn't want to do anything with him, when they go back to her room, because he went back to her room with a pretense that he actually wanted to learn more about this spiritual world that she lives in. And then he didn't. He just wanted to get in her pants. Oh no. Who would have thought the creep lied about having an interest in this girl's interest just to get in her pants. Oh no. Who would have thought? I know what everyone is saying about Saxon, that he might have been taken advantage of by his brother. We don't really have the confirmation for that. I mean, if he was, that's shitty and he didn't deserve that. There's no way around it. I don't care what you think about the guy. He's a creep and an asshole. No one deserves that. But I still don't like him. I still think he's a creep. So, good for you, creep, not getting what you want. And before he leaves the party, he sees his father, Tim, out of it, talking to Greg, and he confronts him. And this is what I thought he was going to do, right? I thought they were going to be in this party, they would be looser than usual, and I thought Tim was actually going to tell him, but I was wrong. Tim did not tell him. Saxon knows something is wrong because, it's obvious by this point, and he confronts him, and he denies it. Tim denies it, and then a little bit later, is thinking about murdering his son, because we get another member of his family. First, we have the wife saying, yeah, I can't be poor. I'm too old to be poor. And now we have the son saying, yeah, I put all my eggs in your basket. So if you are screwed, I'm screwed too. And I don't have anything else, so you better not be screwed. And the fact that Tim's only solution to this problem is to kill his entire family. Tim, you're criticizing them for not being able to live without money, yet your solution is to off all of them? Tim. I'm looking at the audio as it's recording and it's so loud. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't want to burst your ears. Anyway, I'll put a filter on it. But then, right at the end of the Weird's family arc in this episode, which strangely was not very predominant because we get some cool revelations and cool developments with other clusters of people. But right at the end of the Weird family's arc in this episode, we see what I think we were all expecting. Tim finally decides he's actually going for the gun. He has the plan. Locke and Piper are safe in the monastery with a monk he thinks is legit because he talked about death as a return to Earth. The monk basically gave him an out, a spiritual out. If you kill your family, it's not such a bad thing because you're just returning them to the earth they came from, the drop that falls back on the ocean. And Tim completely taking this as a way out, as I'm not a bad person for doing this. He goes for the gun he had hidden that the security guard guy took back in the previous episode. He didn't notice this. He's still fantasizing about the gun he doesn't have. He goes to the closet. The gun is not there. Freaks out. And let's analyze some of the shots around this because they were so cool, you guys. You know, I like to analyze these shots. First, early in the episode, we see this shot of the moon, the full moon in the background, and the waves of the ocean, you know, pushing the water up in the air, you know, a life being born. And then they come back down to the ocean, a life being over. So we get this association, this really cool association between this like idea of a person who dies just returning back to the ocean. In the backdrop, we see the moon, you know, the representation of the night, you know, the long night, the final sleep, the long sleep, the dark, long night. And then before Tim's final adventure into the gun, we see a shot of the waves, kind of like the looming threat coming for him. And then we see the shot of the mural we see in the intro credits where the fish are eating the man, you know, the looming threat coming for him, the tsunami coming for him, the final wave at the end of the show where he will finally have to face the consequences of his actions. And then we see Tim kind of deciding to use the gun, and we see this shot of the goddamn wilderness. Guys, do you remember me mentioning this? That there was a shot of the wilderness with like a little hole in the middle that had light coming in, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel. And then we see another shot in a later episode of the wilderness completely shut off. And now we see another shot of the wilderness with that same hole in the middle, but instead of the light coming in is the moonlight. The moonlight that we saw associated with the wave representing this birth and death thing. And to me, this kind of is representing the final solution, the final option that Tim has, which is the way out of the wilderness is through the long night, you know, the long sleep, you know, the moonlit long night. And by the end, when he figures out he doesn't have the gun, he's kind of like staring into nothingness, thinking what he's going to do. And the shot pans outside of his little place in the resort, and we see like the trees around them, and somewhere there is going to be the tree with the seeds. They are going to be used for the smoothie. Now, I was wondering if he would do it, if Saxon would do it, but I feel like it's going to be Tim who does it, because Saxon doesn't know. He doesn't know. There was an opportunity for Tim to tell him, and he didn't. So I feel like the person who will mix up the seeds will be Tim. Now for the three friends. We finally see them, you know, blowing out at each other, throwing insults and accusations and whatnot. It wasn't as big as I was expecting, but I'm still expecting to see some more fallout, because we already see friend number 3, Lori, breaking out from the group. We see the other 2 women being like, not in the same foot about this. And then baby girl Lori. Oh, and by the way, Lori is wearing red. Jack is wearing blue, and friend number 2, whose name I can't remember, is wearing blue and red. How interesting that she was serving as a buffer for the friends, kind of on Jack's side actually, and she's wearing both the colors. It was interesting. But anyway, Lori changes her clothes, she goes to the boxing match, she meets Valentine there and his friends, and well, she goes back to his place, friend number 2, the snake tattoo all the way down, friend number 2, and they slip together, she has fun, and then right after, he asks her for money. And when this was happening, I was thinking, oh, baby girl, was it that good? Because I mean, sorry for all those noises. I'm deranged today, guys. Honestly, it's a good thing that I'm recording because I'm feeling better. So there you go. To anyone in my audience who has mental health struggles, you can do it. I was wondering when I was watching that, is this is this what happened to Jacqueline? Is this why she was so bitter and so unwilling to admit what happened? Is it because Valentine did the same to her? Like, they were having fun, and then at the end he was like, my mom is sick and back in Russia. Do we think that happened? Is that why she's so upset about it? She doesn't want to talk about it? I really hope that Lori comes back and is not embarrassed about this and just tells her friends, oh my God, you're not gonna believe what happened. I hope this happens because I want them to know that she knows about the necklaces, because you guys, we have the confirmation that it was Valentine's friends. They were the ones behind the robbery. And we don't get just one confirmation. We don't get just Lori seeing the jewelry there. We will get another confirmation with Guy Talk. Yes, I learned his name, Guy Talk. I mean, I feel like everyone was theorizing this, right? It was pretty obvious, right? So she sees the jewel. Oh, because I completely went over that. Because Lori is in bed, pillow talk about money. And then this guy's Russian girlfriend knocks on the door and comes in, and Lori literally runs away with her pants falling down her ass. And she's running away. She sees the necklaces or the jewelry that was stolen from the resort. And then she flees out the window and eventually finds a cab. By the way, it was really dark. I hope she's okay. I hope she's safe. I hope we see her arrive at the resort in the next episode in the morning. And I just hope she tells her friends. I hope she tells her friends so they can compare stories, because maybe the same happened to Jacqueline. And I hope she tells the goddamn manager at the resort that she saw the jewelry. But what if she goes to tell him? Because she's going to be shook up, right? She's going to be chilling in her bed for the whole morning or something. Maybe they won't see her at breakfast. And then she'll talk to her friends, and then I can totally see how she would be close to the end of the episode telling the manager what she saw. And that is the action, because I said this in my finale predictions, that everyone is going to be in the middle of this crucial action when the shooting starts happening. So Tim will be about to drink his smoothie, Piper will be meditating, everyone will do something, everyone will be doing something important, and the shooting happens and interrupts everyone from what they're doing. And I think maybe Lori will be talking to the manager of the resort about this. Or maybe to the security guard. But yeah, confirmation that Valentine's friends are behind the robbery. Now, if you wait till the end of the video, I will be readjusting my predictions from my prediction video with the information that we have in this episode. Not much, but enough. I'm so cringe today, guys. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I'm not cringe. I'm fine. Whatever. I will keep this in. The age gap couple, guys. I was so happy. I was so happy that Rick did not kill that old man. Because this is what I was saying. I don't think he's gonna kill him because I don't think he's gonna kill him. I don't think that's the thing that is happening here. And also because I like Rick and Chelsea. I want them to be okay at the end. And I feel like him not killing the men is a step forward in Rick's final decision of what he's going to do with his life, right? Because he has this woman that loves him so much, but he has to make up his mind, he has to decide if he's going to let all of this past shit go and actually stay in this relationship. And I feel like he will. I feel like there's hope for them. I'm so happy. I'm so happy he didn't shoot him. And also, Chelsea mentions when she's talking to Saxon the idea of yin and yang, which actually I will somehow mention later because I think it might be important for the color analysis of. I will mention it later. She mentions this idea of yin and yang, that Rick has all this pain and she's all of the hope and the healing and whatever. And honestly, I just hope her side wins. I hope her side wins and they can actually have a decent relationship, because I like them. I don't have many hope for the other couples in this show. And also, something I liked a lot was that shot at the end of Rick's arc in this episode where he's partying with his old friend and there's all of these women around, all of these drugs around, and in all of this, he's kind of just sitting back in the couch. He's not really engaging with the behavior of everyone else in the room. And at the end, it like pans to him, it zooms into his face, and he smiles. And what I think and hope this is that final break from the illusion of this rich people's world, the rat race that Greg mentioned. Because I've been talking about this in my intro breakdowns in some episodes involving Chelsea, that there's this idea from the intro, the tiger with snake eyes that is associated to Chelsea's actress's name. This idea of her biting the head off of a deer means her killing the illusion that she's trapped in. And I feel like this would be a great ending for this couple, with Chelsea remaining completely faithful to Rick, even though there are many options around of her, because she knows what she wants. She doesn't buy into this rich people bullshit. She can pretend to be part of it. She can play into it. She even has her own prejudices. I really hope this smiling Rick is just a continuation of this theme for Chelsea, of the tiger biting the head of the deer, meaning this character, breaking from the illusion of the rich world. I really hope that extends to Rick, and this smile is what it means, is him finally realizing that the man that terrified him his whole life has no power over him, because he's a frail old man who's going to die soon. And then he's looking on to his friend and this world of young available women, of all the drugs he can get, all the drinks he can get, and he smiles at all of it because he finally realizes, I don't want any of this. I don't need any of this. I don't need to hold on to this revenge plot that I've had for all my life. I have a good person beside me, and it's all I need. Like, the only thing that would have topped off this shot for me would be him picking up the phone and calling her. But he didn't. So even though I'm hopeful for this kind of ending, I think it could also turn the other way, where he buys into the partying and the girls and the drugs. I think that's way less likely, and I hope it doesn't happen. I hope he's smiling because he's realizing what he has and he doesn't want anything else. But that's also the romantic in me talking. But talking about Rick and the old man, you cannot tell me the old man did not recognize his mother's name, right? Like, when he said his mother's name back to him, wasn't it like a tone of recognition? And then he almost looked stunned by it. And listen, there was someone in my comments a while back saying, I think this guy could be his father, Rick's father. And dear commenter, I'm afraid you could be right, because it can't just be that, right? It can't just be him confronting him and then all is good. So what I think will happen is that in the next episode, he's going to wake up in that hotel room being hungover and having to take care of his friend who's just had a relapse. And I think he's going to be found by this man. Like, this man is going to find him and tell him, I didn't kill your father because I am your father. That would be so cool, because the way that he reacted to Rick's mother's name was a reaction of recognition, and I think it might still not be over. And if this guy really came by to talk to Rick and either give him some explanation or tell him where he recognized the name from, tell him that he's potentially his father, whatever he tells him, I feel like he could come around. And this could be the reason why Rick stays longer in Bangkok than he should, and why he arrives at the resort after everything happened. And hopefully he will arrive, and the first thing he will do is look for Chelsea and tell her, I don't want any of this bullshit rat race rich people life. I just want you. I hope that's what happens. Oh, and by the way, about Rick's friend, Frank, right? I was so wrong about him because I was being all, oh, he's going to be his anchor. He's going to, stabilize him, to be his Chelsea for him. No, baby boy, at the first inconvenience, baby boy went back into the whiskey. And in my mind, I was thinking, was he ever sober? I mean, that story would be too far-fetched if it was just a joke. For sure, all of that happened and he was sober and whatnot. But I found it quite interesting that he said, now that I've done it, let's do it. And I'll go back to the monastery tomorrow. Which is funny because it makes us think of Piper as this person who is completely immune to temptation, right? She wants to live in a monastery. She doesn't want any of this bullshit rich people's lives with drug and alcohols and cheap sex. So it's kind of interesting that he uses that phrase, and I feel like this is the kind of detail that I like when the show inserts certain references to other characters or other plots just to reinforce them even more. Because what is a good way of reinforcing this idea that Piper is this person without temptation living in a monastery, contrasting her to a person who just fell into the temptation of alcohol and then girls and then drugs? Isn't that funny? I like that quite a lot. And about the colors, initially the owner and her husband are wearing blue and Frank is wearing red, but by the time they leave her house, he's not wearing red. He left the jacket there, so he's wearing black. And about Chelsea, most of her time in the episode is her being annoyed by Saxon and calling Rick. And honestly, I feared for her when he put his hands on top of her. You could see that she feared for herself as well. And she was like, yo, chop, chop, gotta call Rick, take the books, leave me alone. And when Saxon left the door open as he left, my mind went straight to Jacqueline as she left the door open when Valentine came in. To me, that's something is gonna happen. Someone is going to show up. Someone is going to see Chelsea. Maybe Saxon will return drunk. Who knows? I didn't like that, but I'm really happy that she's safe and that he left and took the books. And now for Belinda. Listen, I did say he was going to offer her the spa. He didn't, but he offered her the money for it instead of, pew-pewing her. So I feel like I was a little bit spot on what he was going to do. And I mean, he himself tells Belinda, I like it here. I don't want a problem. I don't want to have problems. I just want to chill out and live the rest of my life here. And I mean, he even tries to conciliate with his girlfriend and find something that works for the both of them, if we believe that story, because we've seen in previous seasons that they got it on. Well, sometimes actually, not always. They were struggling at the end, I think. Anyway, he doesn't want to kill Belinda. He doesn't want to. He's trying a diplomatic solution. I don't know if it's gonna work because Belinda doesn't seem like the kind of person who is down to being bought, even though her son wants her to accept it. And I feel like if she refuses the money and she just tells him, I don't want any trouble. I'm not going to say anything, but I also don't want your money. That's blood money. I don't want it because then I'm in cahoots with you and I can be in trouble with the law as well. And she's smart for it. I'm so sorry to tell you this. She's smart for it. And I feel like this might be the point where Greg is like, okay, I didn't want to get my hands dirty, but you didn't take my money and I can't trust you otherwise. If you have nothing to lose, I can't trust that you won't tell. And I think this could be where my theory of Greg's involvement in the shooting comes in, because I've been saying for a while that I don't think he would do anything himself because we've seen that he doesn't do anything himself. But I could see how he would be in the know about this robbery that is about to happen in the resort, and he would maybe be in cahoots with someone that is perpetrating the robbery and be like, okay, shoot up a bunch of people just to make sure that this one person is eliminated and no one knows that she was the true target. I could see that happening, but as I've said before, the White Lotus is not the kind of place or the kind of show where they just drop bodies like that. So I don't think he's going to do it. I think that whether or not she takes his money, I don't think he's going to target her and try to shoot her. The most that I could see him doing is like intimidate her and be like, you know what you know, but I know where you are and I know where your son is, so shut it. But let's see. He definitely has a motive. He definitely has the means, and he could do something to her, but I don't think they would hang the whole season on her not being there, because that's where we start, guys. We start with Zion running through the resort looking for his mother desperately and not finding her. So we can't find her dead. We have to find her alive, and it's like the relief. Oh my God, thank God you're alive, you know? So I don't think she's going to die, and I don't think he's going to come after her. Let's see. Oh, and one last thing I want to mention about Belinda is this shot. Because, you know, I've been talking about these shots with reflections for a while on this show. I've mentioned a couple of Tim where we visually see the representation of his mind being split between enjoying a vacation with his family and worrying about his life crumbling after it. And then we also see a shot in the previous episode where we see Rick talking to Frank, and we see them like refracted in many, that's the word, right? Refracted, whatever. Divided in a lot of different reflections, and it's kind of symbolizing all of their secrets, you know, all of their past lives together, because clearly they have nefarious past lives. And here we see again another reflection, and we see it when Belinda is walking away from Greg, because she says, you know, I gotta sleep on it. I gotta think about it. I can't just take your money. And she walks away, and like we see it almost cut down the middle. It's like right here. And this is her like walking away, and we see it like mirrored like this. And that's clearly reflecting the choice that she has to make, whether she stays on the right side of the law or whether she has this new secret where she took money from a killer to stay shut up. So I really like that shot. I love the attention that these people pay to not only the shots that they filmed, the way they filmed them, where they position them in the editing of the episode, but also the color they use, guys. I'm going to move on to the lovebirds, but I want to point out the fact that the only person we've seen so far fully in red is Lori. Because Frank takes off his jacket and leaves in black. What does this mean? And now the lovebirds. I have some details to mention before I cover what that happened. When the monk is speaking at the very beginning and he says the word killer and we see the shot of Rick, it's interesting because this is in the very beginning, right? We don't know if he's going to do it or not, but in the end, he doesn't do it. So when we hear the monk say killer and we see Rick, we expect him to be a killer. And then he isn't. He doesn't do it. So this is kind of subverting our expectations because they establish a tone for the shot. They establish an expectation about that character that then doesn't happen. And in the same kind of monologue of the monk, he talks about the fact that all aggression, violence, anger comes from fear. And when he says the word fear, we see Guy Talk, the security guard, which is funny because later on in a conversation with his date, wannabe girlfriend, he wants to be his girlfriend. She asks him about it because he says, you know, I'm not going to get promoted. They don't think I have it in me to have the killer instinct. And she asks him, is it because you're afraid? And he says, no, I'm not afraid. I just don't believe in violence because I'm a Buddhist. That's basically what he says. So the idea that of Guy Talk as someone fearful that was put in our heads by having the monk say fear when we saw him is again not correct. They again subverted our expectations by showing us that Guy Talk wasn't afraid. He just doesn't want to be violent. And I hope this reflects his actions on the next episode, that he, despite them, the people around him thinking he's afraid of these confrontations, he isn't. He just doesn't want to fall into violence and aggression. I hope he remains with this position. And when it comes to it, I hope he doesn't pull the gun. But I think he might, because this goddamn lovebird, birds, the girl, okay? The girl that he likes told him that aggression is normal. And I mean, it is a human emotion to feel angry. Like, it's okay to feel angry about things. Not okay to be violent about it. And she makes a good point in the beginning. Like, if it's self-defense, it's fine. Like, what option do you have? Do you just take it until you're dead? But then she goes beyond that and she starts saying, because they go to the boxing match, they go together, right? And she points at the boxers and she says, look, see, it's normal. It's natural to fight as a human. I mean, come on. I don't like what she's doing. And I mentioned this in my previous episode that I was a bit doubtful of her intentions because we only ever see her with him and never alone. We never see her intentions when he's not there. And I don't like this. I feel like she's egging him on. I feel like she knows. Because this is what I was saying in my predictions, guys, that the Russian guys would be in cahoots with some of the staff. I feel like she knows that something is going to go down, and I feel like she needs him to confront them or to create like this distraction. Because if there are guns being fired, maybe one of the robbers who will go into the resort fires, I don't know, to the air. And then Guy Talk, because he has all of this in his head, starts firing somewhere. And in the distraction of these gunshots, they are able to go around and rob people. I feel like she's egging him on to play this part in the invasion, the robbery that is about to happen. Why is she saying this to him? And he's listening to her because he's in love with her. Girl, you are disappointing me. But while they are at the boxing match, guys, we get the second confirmation. Actually, this is the first in the episode. I just told it out of order. But we get another confirmation that those guys were the robbers because baby boy Guy Talk recognizes him. He recognizes the forehead guy. So I feel like his next mission, like the following day, is going to be to tell his buddy and potentially the manager who was behind this robbery. Let's see how it goes. I'm hopeful for Guy Talk. I want him to come out of it because, I mean, he was wearing blue, you know? The girl was wearing kind of white and then blue with red, but he was wearing blue. I feel like he's going to be okay. I feel like he's going to make the right decision. And everything is going to be okay for him. But he probably won't get the girl. Let's be honest about it. She's onto something. Now, some other details, symbolism that I noticed. First, we have, because this is what I've been saying, guys. Whenever we see snakes represented in the show, whether it's a snake choker, an actual snake, or a tattoo snake, it's always been around danger. It's been associated with danger in some form. And I was saying this about the goddamn tattoo. I was saying this is going to be some point of danger in the future. It wasn't. It was in the past because this was the robber that was robbing. Oh my God. Because this guy was one of the robbers, so the tattoo in his arm represents this danger, and I feel like he's going to come back again. But yeah, I'm happy that happened, and I just can't wait for the finale because I have this feeling that the snake is going to turn into a symbol of protection in the finale, and like one of the women is going to use a snake or something associated with the idea of the snakes as a protection against the robbers that are going to invade. Anyway. But we also get another kind of hint at all the monkeys in this show, because I've talked about this a lot. And if you watch my previous videos, you will hear me talking about what I see as a double meaning of the wise monkey and all the monkeys that appear in the show. But here we see the monkey brain, the worry, the weight of preoccupation and stress on people. When Frank tells Rick, that must feel like a huge monkey off your back. The worry, the stress of wanting revenge, that constant weight on him that he wanted to confront this man is finally over because he finally did it. So we get another reference to monkeys, and from two Western guys, let's remember that. Another reference to monkeys series as this negative idea, or a symbol with negative connotation. Keep that in mind. And I also want to mention something that I think might be relevant, but I noticed and I thought it was funny. And it was this idea of contrasting light clothing with dark clothing, because we see a lot of people wearing either red and blue or like pastel colors. And then in this episode specifically, we see a lot of people wearing light colors and dark colors. And I kind of just want to mention it. Maybe it will spark some ideas in your heads, because it's always sparking ideas in mine. But we see Rick wearing white, and then both Frank and Chelsea wearing black. We see Tim wearing white while Mom is wearing a really dark green, I think. And Saxon is wearing both dark and light. Dark in the shirt, light in the pants. Locke and Piper are always wearing light colors, not always the same color, but never dark colors. Chloe and Greg both wear really dark colors. I think Chloe wears black. And Belinda wears light and Zion wears black or dark colors. I don't know if this means anything, but I just noticed it. To me, it makes some sense because, for example, Rick is wearing light and both of his counterparts are wearing black or dark, in this case, really black. And then Tim wearing light and Mom wearing dark and Saxon wearing both, because Saxon is a literal combination of both of those idiots. And Piper and Locke are both wearing light, kind of like symbolizing that they won't have this weight on their shoulders, they will just stay in talent and go to a monastery, I guess. And Chloe and Greg both wearing dark because they are finally in the same wavelength of freaky. And then Belinda wearing light because she's like, yeah, I'm not gonna take the money. And Zion wearing dark because he's like, you should take the money. And also, remember the intro credits, there's always these shadows looming over the resort, the whatever the thing is in the art. And I feel like this is what they might be trying to say, is which characters are within the shadows and which characters are in the light. I don't know. I thought that was interesting. Maybe it's just a silly point that makes no sense. Anyway, as for predictions for next episode, I still think the most probable scenario is this robbery happening, especially if they are going to be busted by two people who now know the truth. It makes sense that they kind of accelerate the timeline that they might have had to, do the robbery while Valentine still works there, because he's going to be fired after Guy talks about this. So I think it's going to be the robbery. Potentially the shots will be to distract everyone, to cause panic so they can go around and rob everyone. I think that in the middle of all this mess, Tim will be doing the suicidal smoothie. He's going to leave it there for some reason, and Locke is going to drink it. I don't think Saxon would drink it, but it could happen. It could be Saxon or Locke, in my opinion, and it could be someone else. I think it's Saxon or Locke. The mom is going to be asleep. Piper is going to be meditating somewhere. Chelsea is going to be in the middle of it. It's going to be like the third life-threatening situation. She's been talking about it for the whole season. This is going to be it. She's going to, the third is a charm, but it isn't, because they're actually not targeting anyone. They're just creating a mess to rob everyone. So this is going to be the third time she is in danger in the season, completing her arc of this spirituality that she has, this instinct that something is going to go wrong. Rick is going to return afterward, maybe with his buddy, maybe alone, but he's going to return determined to fight for his relationship with this woman that is actually good for him. I think the friends might be still arguing, or they might be with Lori as Lori talks to the manager about this stolen jewelry. I think Lovebird Girl will be involved in some way, and maybe Guy Talk will catch her, or for some reason he will be involved in the shooting and be part of the confusion. I hope. We know where Zion is. I hope Belinda is going to be with her lover, safe and sound, and Zion is going to find her later, and they will be like, oh, what happened? What happened? Was it Greg? And then it wasn't Greg. I think Greg and Chloe will be up in the mountain. Maybe they found someone else to do the deed with. And I think the dead body in the water is going to be the person who drinks the smoothie with the poisonous seeds. And it's either going to be Saxon or Locke. Locking down my predictions. I will potentially be wrong about all of them. Anyway, guys, this is it for me. Oh my god, this video is so long. You're going to hate me. Anyway, I'm feeling much better because, yeah, I don't know. Just doing things that you like when you're feeling down is okay. And to anyone who deals with this kind of stuff, or sometimes you just get triggered, your body behaves in a way that you don't understand and you don't condone and is annoying. Just be patient with yourself. It'll be fine. You can do this. And yeah, I will see you maybe tomorrow. Let's see if I sleep. I will. I'm being too worried about this. I will. It's fine. And yeah, I'll see you guys then. Bye, guys.